About the importance of not taking vows.
Yeah.
So one of the things that happens in a Jewish court in Beis Din is, let's say Shmuel and Reuven come to the court.
Okay.
And Shmuel is taking Reuven to the court because he lent Reuven $100, and Reuven didn't pay him back. And Reuven says, he didn't give me $100. He gave me $50, and I gave him $50 back. And Shmuel says, he did give me $50 back. That's true, but he still owes me the $50. How can I owe him the $50? I didn't take $100 from him. I only took $50 and I paid him back. So the court, in its wisdom, thinks this through and says, look, if he was really a crook and took $100 from you, he would never have paid you back $50. He would have just said, I never took anything from the guy. He's making it up whole cloth. There's nothing in writing to prove it. So the court says, you know, we're going to accept your side of the story. Right? You don't owe him any money. One condition. You have to swear an oath to God that he only gave you $50 before this court. Now the truth of the matter is that even if the guy is right and he only took the 50, no 100, everything he's saying is true, he probably won't swear the oath. He'll probably give up the $50. Because swearing an oath is such a dangerous thing to do.
Wow.
It's such a serious thing to do. We don't do it. But it's one of the ways that, and it's an interesting thought, because if you think about it, thou shalt not steal. It's one of the big 10. Right? Okay, shouldn't bear false witnesses, one of them too. But it's a bizarre thing to think that a thief would fear to swear an oath. Yeah, if he's going to steal, he has no fear of God. Mm-hmm. Why would he worry about taking an oath? Right?
Yeah.
But he does. But he does. So taking an oath is a very, very serious business. And before Rosh HaShana, we examine this. On which day should the annulment of vows be done? Although any day before Rosh HaShana is suitable, the main custom is to do it erev Rosh HaShana. A person who is unable to make the annulment before Rosh HaShana should do it before Yom Kippur. Usually it's done after davening.
So we did last year at the Chabad. We say everybody sits around and we say each person gets up and says a paragraph, and annul it all.
All right.
Yeah.
What if a person did not make the annulment before Yom Kippur? In this case, he may rely on kol nidre. Kol nidre, kol meaning all, nidre meaning vows, all vows. Right? On the kol nidre service, when a general public annulment is made. This is particularly relevant for women who do not usually make a private annulment. May the annulment be made on Shabbos? No. May the annulment be made at night? Yes, although it's very rare. Who should have his vows annulled? All men and women over a bar bas mitzvah. However, most women rely on the kol nidre service. Who is qualified to make the annulment? 3 men who are bar mitzvah may make the annulment, provided they understand the mechanism of the procedure. According to some opinions, a boy is not qualified unless his beard has started to grow. Others say just he has to be bar mitzvah.
Does it have to be Shomer Shabbat?
Should be.
Yeah.
Should be. It's a good question.
Because witnesses for Beis Din have to be Shomer Shabbat.
Yeah, you're sitting as a Beis Din. It should be. There, by the way, if there's 4 or 5 sitting and one is not, it's not a problem because you have 3 that are.
3 that are. Yeah.
By Chabad, I think they usually try to do it with 11, so it's one person and 10.
A whole stack.
There's a Kabbalistic reason for to do it in Sfirah. If one cannot appear personally before 3 men, can an agent be appointed to make the annulment on his behalf? No. The one who is asking must appear personally before the Beis Din.
You can't proxy it.
The only exception is his wife, who may ask her husband to seek annulment on her behalf. May several people ask for the annulment together, or should each one ask separately? This happened to me last year.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I hold that it should be each person doing it individually.
Yeah.
This person said we had a tradition where I went to yeshiva, half the yeshiva stood up and asked for the annulment of vows, and the other half granted it, and then vice versa.
Oh.
But it doesn't make sense, because if there's 3 people standing in front of 3 people, you actually aren't able to listen, unless you're a very remarkable person, to all 3 at once.
Oh yeah,
right?
sure. If they're all talking, yeah.
So how can I annul his vows when this guy finished first and I'm paying attention to him? Right? To me, it doesn't really make sense. Right? Ideally, each person should do the procedure separately. If one is pressed for time, several people may ask together. What if one person does not understand the Hebrew text that is said? Since this is not a prayer, very important, not a prayer, but a request for annulment of vows, it is meaningless and invalid if it is not understood. A person who does not understand the Hebrew text should make the request using an English translation. Except in Montreal, where you should be French. This acceptance, even if he does not undertake the Hebrew response, even if he doesn't understand the Hebrew response that the 3 men make, but he should realize that they are annulling his vows. Which types of vows can be annulled? This is very important. 4 types are included.
4 types.
1. Any promise made verbally to perform a voluntary mitzvah. Right? I'm going to buy lulav, and I didn't do it. Any good practice beyond the letter of the law that one began with the common intention of continue it indefinitely. I am going to be responsible for calling people for aliyahs. I'm going to be the gabbai for aliyahs. Right? That's a vow the person made to do that, to assist the shul. I'm going to clean up the floor of the shul. Any practice that was performed chazacha on 3 consecutive occasions, even if one did not specifically intend to continue the practice, nevertheless, by performing it 3 times, one becomes bound to continue. I do a carpool, right? So I pick up the boys in the morning 4 days a week. Yeah? If I pick them up 4 days a week for 3 weeks in a row, and then the 4th week I say, I don't think I'll pick them up on Tuesday. What? You have a zaka. You agreed to do it. They're counting on you. You've been doing it regularly. You must continue. You're required to continue halachically.
It's interesting, Alex. Like when I go on Saturday, I walk to shul, obviously, and when I go for Mincha Marav, I walk. At Marav, everybody drives home. Alex always guides me home, and when I said to him, I don't want to bother you because I'll just walk. No, I've already done it more than 3 times. I'm obligated now.
That's right.
That's what he told me, and you just repeated.
By the way, he can get out of it now.
Yeah, I know. He's too nice guy. He's a nice man.
A firm mental decision to give charity. So this is the one. It's a very important thing to know. Is that, and it happened to me. I had it a number of times that I had to deal with it. Is that other mitzvahs? I'm going to pick up a lulav. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Right? Those things, if you. It said any promise made verbally to perform voluntary mitzvah. The one exception is the last one. A firm mental decision to give charity. If you said in your mind, this money I'm keeping for myself and this money I'm going to give to charity, and the lady is, you didn't say anything out loud. You said, I need the money. I'm going to cut that in half and give half that. It's still more than expected. Can't do that. Once you've made a decision in your mind, how much more so if you said it verbally. And I remember after I was Shomer Shabbos, one of the first things I did was sit on a base in for Rabbi Breidowitz for a family that had sworn to give money for the rest of their lives to a Jewish charitable organization, which was a fraud.
I beg your pardon?
To a Jewish charitable organization, which was a fraud.
The organization is a fraud?
Yeah, it was a fraud, right.
Oh my.
So if they're a fraud,
yeah,
right, you still have to give the charity.
Because he said the vow to give the charity.
Yeah, and the answer is you have to give it unless a Beis Din releases you from it.
Oh boy.
So they would come before the Beis Din that was composed of these 3 people, and we would listen to it, and we understood that it wasn't their intention to give to a fraud, and we could release them from that responsibility. But without a Beis Din, they're stuck with their own foolishness.
Wow.
What are some common examples of vows and good deeds? Verbal promises concerning Torah study. This morning we will finish daf this, parak that. Regularly helping someone visiting the sick, raising or doing charity, reciting Tehillim, attending a shir, saying extra prayers when women are davening Marib. So, all those kind of things, mostly the things between you and God. What if one cannot recall all one's commitments? This is very common.
Sure. How do you remember everything?
It's precisely these vows that are being annulled.
Oh, wow.
A person who can remember specific vows or practices should reveal them to at least one of the three men. In this situation, the man who is told about them must be familiar with the laws of vows in order to ascertain whether it can be annulled. Can all vows be annulled? No, since the details of these laws are highly complex. A person who wishes to annul a specific vow should consult the Rabbi. When is the mechanism of annulment? What is the mechanism of annulment? A person who made a vow and did not fulfill it, or began a good practice and did not continue it, must regret having firmly accepted upon himself, but not regret having done the good deed itself. Had he realized that from the outset that he would eventually be unable to fulfill it, he would certainly not have made such a firm commitment, but rather would have said bli neder, meaning bli meaning without, neder meaning vow. In this way, the vow is considered to have been made in error and can therefore be retroactively canceled. So sometimes when you make a vow or a promise, right, it's very common. You'll hear people say bli neder. I'll pick you up at 10:15 bli neder. Right? So it means I'm planning to pick you up, but this doesn't have the weight of a vow. My word is not my vow in this situation. I'm saying bli neder. Right? People say it very easily. You shouldn't say it very easily, but you should say it if you think there's a possibility that you want to do something, but you may not be able to.
It's called pre-nader?
Bli.
Bli-nader.
Yeah, think of it as B-L-I, new word, N-E-D-E-R.
Bli-nader. Okay. So if I'm going to
not Ralph Nader.
Yeah. If I'm going to meet someone, and I'll be there, bli-nader.
Yes, I'll see you at 4:30 bli neder.
Okay.
Right. What if we cannot? Oh no, we did that. In this way, if it said bli neder, meaning without a vow, in this way, the vow is considered to have been made in error and can therefore be retroactively canceled. This is the reason for the custom to add the words bli neder whenever making a promise or commitment or beginning a new practice. What is the meaning of the declaration made after the annulment? In certain cases, it is impossible to cancel in advance commitments that one may accept upon himself in the future. The declaration has such an effect and is tantamount to saying bli neder. When can one rely on this declaration? Ideally, this declaration should not be relied on. Your intention is to do something, do it. And one should always say bli neder when making a promise or beginning a new practice. If a person forgot to say bli neder, he may rely on this declaration if two conditions are fulfilled. One, he did not recall having said the declaration at the time of making the commitment. He just decided to do it, but he didn't say, I'm going to do it. He did not commit himself with an explicit vow or promise, but simply began a new practice or performed it 3 times. And that's it.
Heavy.
So the point of it, which is very significant, is the power of the lips, the power of the word. Is that, I saw a piece by Rabbi Manis Friedman from Chabad of Minnesota. Very interesting. And he's talking about the nature of God. He said, does God have a voice? Does God have a hand, a finger, a beard?
Yeah.
You know, can God get angry? These are human qualities. Says Rabbi Friedman, no. We have a cheap imitation. Our hand is a cheap imitation of the hand of God. That's what we need to use. Right? Does God have a voice? God spoke and it was. Right? What does it mean, God spoke and it was? Right? We have a slight hint because we have a cheap imitation of speaking. Right? Right now, I'm doing it. Right? But God's speech is something mystical, right? And it exists in the universe. God's hand exists in the universe, but not as a big version of my palm, but as something unique and mystical and meaningful of which we are given a, as he puts it, a cheap replica to give us a sense of what it is. When we involve God in our guarantees to people, we use our words, right? We're creating with it. And I think the lesson of Bli Neder, the lesson of annulment of vows, the lesson of affirming in court, and the Lord knows the lesson of Kol Nidre, right, is a lesson of saying, beware of how you use your words. When you involve God in your promises, your obligation is very, very serious. We're 2 weeks away now from the Yom Hadin, Rosh HaShana. The world around us is changing and preparing for it. We should make the most of these days of Elul, that when we enter before the King, that we enter with humility and with some trembling, some tears, but with the knowledge that Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, He's our Father first. There's a story told about I think it's about the Emperor Titus, that he said to Rabbi Akiva, he said, there are so many poor people. Why do you feel an obligation to care for these poor people? God wants them to be poor. He put them in the prison of poverty. If you're going to treat them and take them out of the prison of poverty, you're actually going against your God's will to put them there.
It's an interesting way of putting it.
How dare you do that? Rabbi Akiva taught the emperor a lesson. He was a general at the time. That is very crucial for us at this time of year. He said, you know that when the emperor imprisons a person for doing something against the crown, you're right. He's put in prison to suffer. And the emperor could throw the key away and not care a whit about him, and actually be angry at somebody who eases the person's suffering. But what if, in an effort to discipline a wrongdoer, the emperor is forced to put his son in prison? Put his son in prison. How does he feel about the guard who sneaks his son some food? Does he hate that guard? No. He's thankful to that guard. This isn't a prisoner, this is my son. Yes, he's done something wrong. Yes, he has to be made an example. Yes, he has to change his ways. Yes, he has to go through this process. But he's still my son. And if you're going to slip him a little extra food, make sure that his cell is a little bit warmer, put an extra blanket in, you're not going to get stood up against the wall, you're going to get thanked when the time comes, because you had concern for the emperor's son. We don't say Malkeinu Avinu, the king, the father. We say Avinu Malkeinu, our father, our king. We should serve God as a son serves a father that he loves, and we should do a service that a servant would be proud of for a great master. And if we succeed at that and we approach it that way, right, then we should be in awe. We should know the importance of the days that are upon us, right? But we should have the confidence of knowing we're not strangers to the court. There's nothing God wants more than for us to come through the Yom HaDin in good working order, with a celebration, to be able to enjoy Rosh HaShana, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot and Simchas Torah. You know, the order of the Hagim goes in a way that guarantees ending with a great high, Simchas Torah. So I think we should shake. I think we should be worried. I think we should do a Heshbon Nefesh. I think we should try and correct all the things that are wrong between us and God, between us and our fellow man, between us and ourselves. But we should enter into it with a confidence that we're welcome, and that the court looks forward to saying, go judgment. Forward to a good judgment.
He goes on the chair, the chesed, the kindness one.
That's right. He moves from the throne of judgment, right, to the throne of kindness, of rachamim, mercy. Right? And what causes him to make that move? We say the sound of truah, the long, straight sound of the shofar, not the broken sound, but it's actually the long, straight sound. Rabbi Asiak likes to say that the reason that truah comes before and after the other sounds, the broken sounds, is what we really want in life is a straight path, the straight path that God gives us, straight and narrow. Right? But things come along that break it up, right? Sometimes harshly, sometimes less harshly, sometimes short breaks, sometimes big breaks. But then at the end of the process, we come out of it with another straight path. So it's always truah on either side of Shavarim or Tekiah Shavarim. Right? It's always this thing, the truah is there till the last sound, which is the truah Gedolah, the longest sound, the straightest sound. And when you blow a truah, if you're a Baal Tekiah, one of the qualities of truah is that its tone should not change. It's natural when you're running out of breath, it drops off a little bit. So you have to be skillful enough to be able to stop the sound before you begin to run out of breath, because it should be a straight sound. And we should all enjoy a good and a straight year and a sweet year, and we should prepare for it now.